Welcome to Your Business, Your Life with Matt DiFrancesco, your personal financial technician. Whether you've had years of success in your business or are just starting out, HighLift Financial can help you create a vision for your business, life, and family, and align these for generational wealth. So as they say, what happens in your life affects your business. And now, on to the show. Well, hello and welcome to Your Business, Your Life with me, Matt DiFrancesco. And, I know we've got an ever-changing environment in this industry. And so I'm really excited about the guest that I have on today, John Voulgarakis. He began his career as an automotive technician and then quickly advancing. He was into estimating and management roles with local collision centers. And then he expanded to working with multi-shop acquisitions, and he overseed 180 or 160 plus OEM-certified collision centers to ensure they had the right compliance with manufacturer repairs procedures. So he's really big on OEM procedures, and that's why one of the reasons why I'm excited to talk to him. So John and his partners, Christopher Fox and Aaron Bell, just recently set out to build a company that prioritizes precision, trust, and quality repairs, which is now Lightning Auto Services. Founded with a vision to uphold automotive manufacturer safety requirements, because when it comes to vehicle repairs, we don't want to be compromised and we don't want to take a shortcut. So, with that, John, I want to welcome you to Your Business, Your Life.
Thank you, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. So really, just to kind of start, I want you to kind of expand a little bit on, I talked about in your bio, a little bit about your background, but kind of expand on that and then what led you and your partners to start Lightning Auto Services.
Correct. So I started right out of high school as a automotive technician working at a small mom and pop shop. Was interested in collision, so went over to the collision side, started as the detailer prep, did mechanical, some light body work before grasping parts and then estimating. At the time is when MSOs really started to pop up everywhere in the PE in the Northeast market. So about after 4 years of working at one independent facility, we did the first acquisition to the largest MSO in the country. And that's where we started seeing more of the OEM position statements and really start pushing the pre and post scans. And this was back in 2016.
Right.
Again, I was jaded, stuck with, what I was used to until it burned me one time. And I remember that story to the end of time. Was a 2016 Ford Edge, black in color.
Uh-huh.
And it was a farmer's claim, and I did not do a pre and post scan on the vehicle, and the customer picked up and it had a check engine light, and it turned out because the ambient temp sensor was not plugged in fully. So I could have caught it if I just followed my procedure. So it kind of stuck with me through there. Moved up to production manager, regular general manager, another MSO, and then quickly moved over to the OEM side, where I was overseeing Maine to Virginia as a territory for Tesla specifically, and doing their onboarding, their tooling compliance, estimatics, CSI. I mean, you name it, my hands were involved with it. Legal,
Right.
with purchasing vehicles back. Then was able to open a internal location and train over 60 plus technicians with the teams about following OEM procedures. And again, it was the disconnect of those few years working with Tesla of why aren't we following OEM procedures everywhere? Because you were seeing firsthand how they test these vehicles,
Right.
and not following the procedure could result to serious injury or death. Like, there is truth behind the statements, and we've
Right.
seen it firsthand, seeing what we could do. And I would, funny story, we'd make shops buy a car back because they sectioned a quarter 2 millimeters too short.
Really? Wow.
Yes. So
Okay.
I've been involved with that, and
Uh-huh.
it's following those procedures it really stuck. Unfortunately, we were hit with the layoffs, myself and Chris, one of my business partners, and we ended up taking some time off, started working on, the ADAS idea. He was a service technician, oversaw 80 plus service centers for Tesla. And then we kind of started brainstorming. We're like, ADAS is the newest thing. The technology is not going anywhere. EVs are pushing it. We have EV experience where a lot of people don't understand how these things work.
Right.
And here we are pushing everything. So we drafted our idea back in April of 24. It started getting the balls in motion. Aaron was working for a franchise MSO, as a fleet coordinator. So he was working with EVs, working with the fleet management companies, and he was aware of the idea too. And he's like, this things need to change.
Right.
I have a friend out west. He has multiple locations. He was, he showed the growth. We're like, this is the next big thing in this industry.
Yep.
So we opened our doors on January 2nd, and it was a uphill battle ever since.
That's right.
So
Welcome to the world of business, right?
yes, we had our mission was have everything pre-planned rather than growing out of it to grow into it, except the building.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's kind of our footprint on it. But we wanted to treat it as if we were taking all the gripes of every estimator and manager out of it.
Right.
So everything I used to complain about with sublet vendors,
Hmm.
we tackled same day service, self scheduling, photo documentation,
Right.
essentially service summaries, everything that we used to complain about. We're like, we're going to do this for the shops.
Right.
And we're like, this is going to be the easiest thing since sliced bread.
Right.
We're accomplishing everything. And then it turned out to the challenge of education.
Right. Oh yeah, definitely. And and that kind of brings me to a point. We talked about this a little bit on the pre-call with, there's a lot of shops that are utilizing either mobile services, outside vendors maybe coming in to do mobile service, and some of the challenges with that. I want you to address that because I think it's a really important thing, and I think a lot of shop owners don't realize the importance of having a dedicated place and person to do these calibrations.
Correct. So come next year, there's going to be a lot of legislation changes, hopefully, with the DOT that I've been working on.
Okay.
So we're pushing that avenue as well as ICAR training, pushing certifications to the ADAS centers as well as to the collision center. So hopefully everything will take effect in 2026.
Hmm.
Working with SEMA directly as well with the legislators that sit down in DC.
Okay.
So we've been educating the shops, and this is coming. The other thing that we always use is the lean process. PPG always stated that a non-structural bay is about $50,000 in income a month
Right.
for a technician. A frame machine should be around 75. So
Right.
we educate the facilities and say, listen, this bay is costing you this amount. If you're waiting for someone to do a calibration on your site, do you realize you're losing money?
Hmm.
So we educate that way. We also educate on the proper dynamics that are required to do a calibration, especially the statics.
That's really what I want you to address because I don't think a lot of shop owners really understand that aspect of it.
So if you read any procedure, even the dynamics are going this way now to do pre-alignment checks. Dynamics obviously are done on the road, a little bit more lenient with the process on doing it. But our theory is bring everything to our site because the static requires level floor, white room, white walls, certain lighting. Everything needs to be met. So our theory was the dynamics as well. Everything should be held. What we can control, we hold that initial control variable.
Right.
So that way it sets the tone right there. So we explain that to the facilities, and of course, it's well, we've never had issues. And we're like, well, 3 years ago, the technology wasn't where it was.
Right.
We had one shop, we did a Honda, and we're like, listen, you just R&I'd the bumper, replaced the fender, blended the door. Gravy job. I am on point with you saying you don't need calibrations 5 years ago.
Right.
Now you need to do it. And he's like, there's no way. I'm like, listen, I'm telling you, if it's off, you bill it. If it's not, we'll absorb it for everything, the free tow, everything that we did for you.
Okay.
He's like, no problem. We take the car, it's off by 3 degrees.
Wow.
Just an R&I of a bumper cover. We've caught where Subaru eyesights are throwing hard codes now. I'm in the system that was collision. So we did the calibration. Calibration takes. We do the post scan after doing a test drive. It's disengaging the system again. Turns out the rad support was pushed back into the camshaft position sensor, causing the system not to be able to retard properly. So
Mm.
we were able to take the bumper off, replace the sensor, get the vehicle back on the road to the customer. So we explained that we can diagnose, do the calibration. We give you the documentation as well. So if there is a challenge, we can address it, order parts, and get the car done without tying up your valuable base space or telling you we're going to be back tomorrow. Because one of the big things with mobile is I don't take bumpers off. Have your tech take it off, and I'll be back.
Right.
We'll do it.
Okay.
Which again adds the extra sales of service and saying, hey, like this is the challenge that we're having with it. We need to do it. It's a billable charge at that point because now you're subletting it to us.
I was
Let us
just going to ask you
diagnose
how
it.
that works. By you guys doing that, don't you assume some of the liability on it?
Correct. Yep. And we're perfectly okay with assuming the
Okay.
liability. We hold a very large policy for that reason, just to add the peace of mind. We actually carry the policy that we used to carry, require shops to have for Rivian Tesla certificate. So we
Okay.
hold the same liability limits. It gives them that peace of mind, saying, listen, we're not a small company in that mindset. We want to make sure that you feel protected. Here's the paper. We don't want to have to use it. We hope to never use it, but we do have it to prove to you that we do care.
Right. That's
And
great.
we've done bumper swaps. I mean, lower texture covers that cover the radar in a Kia. Shop ordered the incorrect one. We noticed it. We ordered the correct one. I went to pick it up personally, swapped the bumper out, had the car back the same day for the shop to deliver the car.
Wow. That's great. That's great. So, a question I think a lot of shop owners have, and why sometimes they're maybe hesitant to have, have the car taken to an outside vendor. I think the liability issue is one, which you've kind of covered, but the second is the time. And I know you've kind of touched on it, but let's just elaborate on that too, because I think, a lot of times they're thinking, okay, they got to pick up the car. That's one day. Then it's another day to do the calibration. And then, so maybe at best, the car's gone 3 days. Can you talk to that?
So, a couple analogies with it, right? When I was dealing with my mobile company, when I was on the shop level, I'll be there today, or I'll be there this afternoon when you call them the day before. The same day, good luck. So that's one challenge right there. You don't have an accurate time frame. Plus, you have to date your customers and worry about production. Everything else you have to worry about. So if you're good at production, self-schedule. That
Okay.
saves a lot of time for the shop. Hey, this car is leaving today. Let's get it on the schedule. Under
Okay.
promise, over deliver the customer. Explain from the time of drop off. We educate the shops to make sure they educate the customer as well. Other thing goes to the dealership. They'll get it done in 3, 4 days. The analogy that we always use is, if you're waiting for a mobile company because you feel more comfortable with the car staying on site, you've taken cars to sublet vendors before, dealerships, to window tint, etc. You're moving the vehicle. For us, also think of it as where your mobile company is a Uber Eats driver. You ordered a pizza. There could be 10 other pizzas before you,
Right.
and you're just waiting, where you're coming right to us to get it picked up. And that's us sending the tow truck out.
Right.
So we're essentially able, we on average, we calculated about a 3.8 to a 5.6 time savings with our service.
Oh, really? That's great.
Yep. So
Interesting.
depending on our vendor with the tow, we can actually dispatch within 90 minutes.
Wow, that's amazing. So, are you billing the shop, and then the shop's getting reimbursed, or how is that?
So it's everything is the towing at this time is absorbed in our cost of doing business.
Okay.
So obviously our pricing will be higher because it's a static center.
Right.
We calculated with other markets, we are actually about 15 to 20% lower than the other markets that
Wow.
currently have static centers. Certain insurance carriers, we're negotiating, what they consider billable charges, what they're not. At that point, we'll eventually look at billing towing and take some items off just to do what we need to do to make sure that they're a happy partner and the shops are happy and they're delivering cars that are safely back on the road. And we're not talking at local levels too. We're talking at estimatic directors of insurance companies.
Right.
We're really going to the top and saying, hey, like we understand that you guys understand that this is a requirement. Your field guys do not understand that.
Right.
So it's like, what can we do to accomplish the goal? So we give them a documentation. One thing we've been seeing is they've been using a lot of dealership quotes, quote unquote.
Hmm.
And the quote is typically that when you call a dealership, the calibration costs X. Well, that doesn't include everything if you ask the proper questions, the pre-alignment check, the
Right.
variant coding that this module could specifically need. What's that cost come out to? Plus the towing at that point, plus the delay. If the customer's in a rental, are you worried about your cycle time at that point? Are you a DRP? There's a lot of metrics that go behind it that the local guys don't really understand. That's why we're going to the top to really explain we're saving time for the insurance company. We're saving heartache down the line with the customer for them potentially, as well as we're ensuring a safe vehicle, accurate, and we're giving the documentation that the dealerships don't provide.
Okay. I think that really clears up a lot of things there too. So, because again, I'm just kind of anticipating what some of the objections shop owners may have. But again, especially if, there's an issue and you've got to replace a bumper, not having to send it back to the shop, they do the work. I mean, that's going to backlog them. Plus then you got more back and forth there. And I think it's good that you guys are technicians too. So this should be something that, you guys are used to doing on a regular basis.
Correct. So us having the service background, the collision background, a fleet background, we can really hit all different avenues of service. We understand that the shop needs to deliver cars at the end of the month. So we operate not only in a normal 8 to 5 day like body shops, we actually work longer hours.
Okay.
So we'll operate from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at some of our locations that we're looking at. If we have large fleet companies that operate 18-hour days, we're looking at operating 18-hour days for them in
Okay.
that market. So we're open to a different mindset to ensure that these cars are back on the road quickly. And the other thing is that we're constantly educating. So we're hitting the shops weekly. We're talking to them. We're saying, hey, what are you guys seeing in the market?
Hmm.
What challenges are you running into? By the way, this car needs ADAS calibrations. Why? We explain it. We pull up our scrubber. We show them the whys behind everything. We try to capture everything. We're like, listen, even if it's a customer pay, we understand that the customer doesn't want to pay for it out of pocket. Let us know. We will just do it for you as a courtesy because you're a partner with us and you're delivering a safe car. Because if you don't deliver it with calibrations
Right.
and something happens, you're holding the liability.
That's right.
So we give them that extra piece of service saying, hey, until we change the industry,
Right.
we're willing to work with you, whether we have one site or 25 sites. We're always going to be available to communicate and negotiate with insurance companies and have conversations with people.
Right. So that actually brings up an interesting question as you were talking about this kind of working those kind of hours. As you know as well as I do, one of the big issues in the industry is finding talent. So where are
Correct.
you finding talent, especially because it's such a specialized niche that you're in?
So we had a fun challenge when I was at Tesla when I opened the internal location. I was the first facility to be fully staffed before having keys to the building.
Oh,
So
wow.
then I was pushed, well, we're going to have 2 shifts before you open. Make it happen. I was fully staffed before I was even allowed to put in my shop.
Wow.
And a lot of the avenues that I took was reaching out to people I knew. I'm in the fire service, so getting people that have the same mindset, the
Hmm.
same drive as we do. So we'll pull from there, as well as local tech schools. We'll go every semester and do an education briefing, pull people in directly, and that's how we were able to staff my shop previously, and that's what we're looking at doing now as well. It's
Right.
plus our benefits, plus our pay. We do a lot of things to really ensure that we take care of the people, that they're not just a number, they have a voice. If someone has an idea, we're all for tell us your idea because at the end of the day, we're not just a business to do calibrations, we're a business to change the industry.
Yeah. And that's exciting. And I think, that those are the kind of owners I do like working with because I'm a bit of a disruptor too. And and it's a great industry. I really, and I say this in my talks, and I think sometimes people kind of look at you, but I really do believe that now is one of the best times to be an independent shop. Okay. Even better than, probably 20 years ago.
100%
But
agree.
they are going to have to make changes on how they do business. All right. This ain't your grandpa's body shop anymore. So, I mean, what do you see are some of those changes that the independent shop has to make?
A lot of the changes is one, it's going to be adapting to the mindset of the lean process, which obviously has been around 10 plus years already. The
You just
lean
want to just
process
highlight the
works.
lean process real quick for anybody who
Correct.
might not know what that is. Okay.
So the lean process is it's quite simple. Fix less, make more. In the mindset of capture the car from the time of drop off rather than come back pre-order parts. You order everything initially. Once the car is on site from that time, you do a full teardown. You spend 30 minutes with the customer explaining hidden damage, explaining sublets. Really focus on the repair of that vehicle rather than just another car sitting in the back lot.
Right.
That's step one. Step two is open up the avenue to OEM certifications. A lot of these shops refuse, believe, quote unquote, some of the certifications are scams. Things are changing. Toyota's coming out with cast subframes similar to Tesla. They're pushing their own insurance company. Tesla has their own insurance company. The EV certifications, Polestar just announced theirs. Honda announced theirs. There's multiple OEM certifications coming out to start restricting the parts, restricting the labor rates, really add an extra value to that because at the end of the day, that's where the talent's going to be needed because they're going to start understanding that if a vehicle gets totaled, they rather have it insured through them, total loss through them, or repaired. All the parts come through them. It just increases their revenue at the OEM level. Plus, it's putting a safe vehicle back on the road.
Yeah.
And these smaller independents, like, well, I don't want to spend the money. And it's like, unfortunately, if you want to succeed in today's market, I can firsthand say that I put shops that were brand new on the program and they were successful, able to open a second and third location within 5 years because of that initial investment.
Right. I think you're exactly right. And it's interesting. We do every month on our collision cocktail hour, these type of things come up, and the guys who are having the most success are doing exactly that. They're getting certifications, and it's interesting because me, being in financial services, and then I started. I was I kind of was building my practice working with small mid-sized family businesses, and then started getting collision shops, and then I'm going whole hog, and I went very narrow. And my peers looked at me like, this is just, this doesn't make any sense. But you actually gain abundance because, you gain abundance by going narrower. And I think, become the expert in that area. So, and I think to the point that you said, now you can do less work but get paid more for it. And that's really the bottom line, is what it comes down to, because you are the Toyota, you are the GM, you are the, Honda certified shop, you are the repairer that knows how to repair these to the manufacturer standards. And I think there's another point with the manufacturers is they want to keep their customers. So they don't want you just to buy one Toyota, all right? And they want you to buy multiple Toyotas. And so the more they can make sure that, we've got OEM parts, we're following these practices, customers are going to be much more likely to stick with that brand.
I mean, it's a wide range. And even the dealerships have a disconnect in with what should be done correctly. They send it to the small shops that put aftermarket parts. They use, the best term, the lot lizards to spray a bumper
Yeah.
where they shouldn't be spraying a bumper. Most recently, my a friend of mine was looking at a Honda, went to the local dealership. That is a large dealership in the country.
Right.
Uh, we looked at it and I opened the door and there's a PDR hole for and through the quarter. And I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
well, this is not certified anymore. And they're like, no, it is certified. I'm like, you just blew through a quarter and the lock pillar to do a PDR repair. You compromise the structural integrity of this vehicle. This is no longer a certified vehicle. Pull your own OEM position statements.
Yes. Isn't that something? Yeah.
So the disconnect is insane. So we're hoping with like the legislation conversations, getting the smaller shops to see the bright side of the future rather than we've been stuck in our own way for 30 years and really say, hey, look, the power of the internet, power in numbers at this point.
Yeah.
Being able to see an article that SEMA sent a letter to legislation saying that this isn't an issue. Let's focus on ADAS calibrations. I was able to reach out, have a conversation 3 days later
Right.
and basically say, hey, this is our challenges. This is what I'm working on with the DOT,
Yeah.
with a senator based in New Jersey. And we had a conversation, and now we're going to be in front of more conversations. And we're going to be potentially going to DC and be in front of legislators and saying, well, what we're seeing down here, inviting other people, just being able to have a Teams call, say, what are we seeing? Let's
Yeah.
group everyone together. This is no longer just a market issue,
Yes.
and it's getting more advanced by the day. And
Oh, you
that's
better believe it. And I've been preaching that for the last year, that especially associations. I think too many associations have just kind of sat back and sucked their thumb and like, oh, woe's me. I remember I was doing a show in Chicago, and Mike Anderson was there, and Mike was just doing his latest presentation that every year he kind of has a topic that he does, and he had a slide with every state and their average repair tickets and what they were getting paid on it. Rhode Island was the highest, which was interesting. And then he said the reason Rhode Island is the highest is because their association has been real strong. They've gone to their legislators and they've got some of the strongest legislation that protects the shop owners. All right. But I don't think enough associations have done that. And I don't think enough shop owners have banded together. Like, we're both in Pennsylvania. I mean, there's almost no association in Pennsylvania. You know, I think shop owners need to start saying, we got to start forming an association so that we can go to our local legislators and then eventually create the power to go to the national level to get these things done. It's interesting. I mean, how did you make these inroads?
so we literally just brainstorming as a news business, figuring how we're going to fix one car this week and how we're going to do two cars this week. And One thing that I kept on saying to my team was educate, educate and legislation.
Right.
And we were able to reach out to a senator's office. They were like, oh, he sits on the DOT board. Have a conversation because the new bill's coming out next year.
Right.
We had that conversation. We wrote, a template and we sent that in and, had other members from other shops in the state, other shops in other states that I knew, and everyone kind of put their input with what they're seeing. We tackled from calibrations to no APing to, how to do the right repair. We really tackled a lot of topics. And then, we kind of let it sit. We monitored the media, and then we see SEMA's letter go out. And then I sent them an email and I said, hey, here's my legislation bill that we sent to the DOT.
Hmm.
Love to have a conversation because we're on the same page. Reached right back and said, this is great. I'm going to drop a meeting invite for next week. And this was Tuesday. So I already had that meeting. And,
Awesome.
the conversation went, I'm going to connect you with whatever legislators I can so you can be the face of it.
Right.
And that way you can support as the boots on the ground mindset rather than us being an association. You can attest to what we're saying is needed.
Right.
And that's how we kind of did it. And, we're fortunate we're in an era of internet. So we're able to try to reach the market. Like our biggest thing now is trying to reach the general public and educate them and say, hey, look, this needs to be calibrated once you get a windshield done. That happened to my neighbor. Glass companies say calibrations are a scam, quote unquote. We're just replacing a glass. Turns out we proved it, and we proved it that it needed a factory Honda glass
Right.
because OEM position statement and the optics in the glass. His mother's car was hit. No calibrations completed, surround view, everything. She's like, I'm having issues. Let's address it for you.
Right.
Getting the mass public, excuse me,
That's right.
is crucial because the consumer is paying thousands of dollars for these features that are
Hmm.
becoming standard, which is causing their policies to go up. But shops are neglecting it. Insurance carriers are even neglecting. We've had insurance carriers tell shops it's customary to use the mobile company. Mind you, this car has a surround view
Right. Right.
in a gravel parking lot. Or that's not safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't understand this logic. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's just the education at this point. It was the same thing when EV started. I remember hearing stories that shops were calling when Tesla was cold calling at the time. Do you want to be on the program? No, Tesla's going to go out of business.
Yeah.
Click. Then they're reaching out to be on the program 5 years later.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's the
Exactly.
same thing. And that's why we're so adamant about that. And then we want to scale into other markets. So rather than us putting a free standing building, if someone has the need for ADAS and they do a lot of volume and they have a space available, we're open to going out there, having conversations, setting up our facility there, be able to set a footprint, make sure that they're starting to do the right thing quickly, and then get our bigger site and be able to support them. And that way we're getting the word out rather than just we're going to put a shop here because this is our next target market. If someone has the need, we're open to putting a need. We're
Gotcha.
looking at Midwest Pennsylvania now, potentially Florida.
Hmm.
Some other states reached out with people we know through the grapevine that's like, hey, we need this. As
Right.
dealership owners as well, people that own multiple dealers are like, I'm required to do this. I have no idea how to do it. My shop's never going to be set up right to do this because the dealership says I need to do it this way.
Yeah.
And here we are like, hey, let's talk. You have the equipment. Let's figure out what we can do to support you and make sure that you're doing the right thing. We've written our own program for new technicians, how to accomplish from being basically a fresh entry level to a master ADAS tech. We
Right.
spent hours writing our own book and basically giving it to them their first day and say, this is everything you need to learn,
Right.
but don't expect it not to change 100 times within the next year because that's how quickly this industry is changing.
Right.
And
Exactly.
we encourage them. We'll give them projects. Hey, we have a Honda. Pull the front radar procedures. Tell us how many mils it needs to be from the front.
Mhm.
Give us that report by tomorrow when you have downtime, and we'll challenge them with ideas. Hey, if this happens, what would you do? If
Hmm.
this is it, what's the case? And that's how we get them thinking. We're like, at the end of the day, it's not like you're slinging mud
Right.
as if you're a body man. Think of yourself as an A-rate frame tech. How did that car get hit? That
Yep.
you need to fix that car correctly. Is the car even square? We've had that happen where the rat support wasn't even fixed properly
Yes.
and the radar's not taking. And we're like, what's going on? I'm like, well, let's pull the trend gauge. Let's do a quick measurement. Rad support's off. Call the shop. Hey, your tech to put the rad support in incorrectly. He needs to come back to you. You need to redo the whole job.
Oh boy. Wow.
And, and it happens.
Yeah, yeah, it does happen. Oh, you better believe it. You better believe it. So, John, I know we're getting close to time. You did kind of highlight where you're, kind of where you're looking to expand. One question I had is, so are you subletting space from these shops that may have space to be able to accommodate your services?
Correct. So we're
Okay.
open to that conversation. If they have multiple shops and they need us to put a location out there, we're always open to put a
Okay.
location there as well. Whatever the need is, we're open to having conversations. We're not fixed on one model of we're going to have 125 Lightning Auto Service locations throughout the Northeast.
Right.
We're Let's get the footprint out there and educate the shops, because the more that we do and the more shops we service, the quicker that it's going to be noticed at a higher level at insurance companies, legislators. The shops are pushing to do the right thing.
Right.
That's when we can make the changes happen faster, because unfortunately, I always say we're about 3 years behind to the OEMs at this point.
Right.
And that's what we need to focus on, is getting caught up. And then if that means us subletting a space, putting our equipment because they have the adequate space and the lighting, so be it. We're okay with that. That way they're doing the right thing. At least then they can sleep at night knowing that their customers are their cars are getting delivered correctly,
Right.
rather than the what ifs.
Right. No, I think that makes complete sense. So, John, this is fascinating. I mean, as much as the industry's changing, I know every time I have a guest on, it's like we could go on and on, but we're going to put all of your contact information down in the show notes with this podcast. So if anybody who's listening sees a need for a shop for this type of service, you'll be able to reach out to John and his team to maybe have a conversation, especially if you do have space that can be used to accommodate, these ADAS services that John and his team are providing. So anyway, John, I want to thank you for being on Your Business, Your Life. Just like I said, fascinating conversation. And I love forward thinkers, when it comes to business.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
That's no problem. And the last thanks always goes to you, the audience. Thank you for listening to Your Business, Your Life with me, Matt DiFrancesco. And if you're not subscribed to the podcast, please click the subscribe button below. That way, when a new episode is released, it'll drop right onto your device. You'll get to hear more great guests like John and all the ones that we've had on. And if you're watching this on YouTube or even listening to the podcast, please give us a 5-star review if you like what you're hearing. That helps us to move up the chain and get to a much larger audience. So again, I just want to thank John and you guys for being on with us. So take care, God bless, and let's make it a great day.
Thank you.
Hey, I really want to thank you for listening to the Your Business, Your Life podcast. If you want to be notified when new episodes become available, click the subscribe button below.
All information is obtained from sources deemed reliable but not guaranteed. No tax or legal advice is given nor intended. Content provided herein or on our website should not be construed as an offer for investment advice or for securities, insurance, or other investment products. Investments involve the risk of loss and are not guaranteed. Consult a qualified legal, tax, accounting, or financial professional before implementing any investments or strategy discussed here. High Lift Financial is a DBA for DiFrancesco Financial Concierge, LLC. Investment advisory services are provided through Cornerstone Planning Group, LLC, an independent advisory firm registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission.